Okay, good afternoon to all of you. Whether the slide is visible, anybody else, please respond. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let's start. Yesterday we have discussed about change management and some software configuration management. We have seen the what is the purpose of using software configuration management, what are the advantages, etc. Today we will discuss about the exact process that has to be followed for software configuration management. What tools are available to carry out software configuration management, and overall what are the tools available for software project management. We'll first look at the configuration management process. Then we'll discuss the tools available for configuration management. Then we'll discuss the tools available for project management. So the configuration management, it is carried out through the through the following two principal activities. Number one is configuration identification, then configuration control. So what happens during configuration identification? So this configuration identification process, it involves deciding which parts of the system should be kept under configuration management. So if the system consists of so many parts, all the parts need not be kept under configuration management. So we have to first identify which parts of the system should be kept under configuration management. That is the objective of configuration identification. Once this is done, then you should go for configuration control. This process is used to ensure that the changes made to a system occur smoothly. No hassle happens. So that's why we should ensure that configuration control, this process is used to ensure that the changes to a system, they occur smoothly without any hassle. So first let's say configuration identification, then we'll go to configuration control. As I have already told you, in configuration identification, what is happening, we have to identify which parts of the system should be kept under configuration management. So we have to identify those parts. The project managers normally classify the different work products associated with a software development process into three main categories, taking into or with regards to the configuration management. Those three categories are controlled, pre-controlled, and uncontrolled. So what is meant by controlled work product? Controlled work products are those products that are put under configuration control. Okay. So the work products that are put under configuration control, they are known as controlled work products. Here the team members, they must follow some formal procedures to change this. So the team members, the developers, they will follow some formal procedures to change these work products. What do you mean by pre-controlled work products? These are the work products, those who are not yet under configuration control. Till now, they are not under configuration control, but will eventually be under configuration control. Later on, they will be kept under configuration control. Okay, but will eventually be under configuration control. So far, they are not under configuration control, but it is likely that they will be put under configuration control in near future. They are, we call them pre-controlled work products. What is uncontrolled work products? Products, they will not be subject to configuration control. Not right now, not in future. So the work products, they will not be subject to, they will not be kept under configuration control. They are known as uncontrolled work products. So now these controlled and uncontrolled, controlled and pre-controlled work products, they can be combined. So one single name is given to that. That is known as controllable work products. So controllable work products, they include both the controlled work products as well as the pre-controlled work products. A single name is given to controlled and the pre-controlled work products, a combined name that is known as controllable work products. Now let's say, as I have already told you, configuration identification, we have to identify which parts will be kept under configuration control. So what could be the parts? What could be what items they can be kept under configuration management? So configuration control. So typically controllable work products, they include the following items. Yesterday I have already told you which products can be kept under confusion management, like they are the requirement specification document or the SRS document, design documents such as DFD, the data dictionary, the all UML diagrams, and so on. Then what tools we are used to build the system, such as compilers, linkers, lexical analyzers, parsers, etc. They can be also put under confusion control. Of course, code you must have to consider. Source code for each module also that can become what put under confusion control. The test cases you are designing for testing the software, they can be kept under confusion control. And finally, the different problem reports, they can be also common, they can be also kept under confusion control. So these are the different items. They can be identified, they can come under the controllable work products. Okay. So after confusion identification, we should go for confusion control. How you can perform this confusion control? Confusion control is the part of confusion management system which most directly affects the day-to-day operations of developers. So this is the most important part of the confusion management system, which directly affects the day-to-day operations of the developers. This configuration control allows only authorized changes to the control objects and prevents unauthorized changes. So only those that are authorized, they can only make changes. Unauthorized persons, they cannot make any changes on any of the work products. The project manager can give permission to some members to be able to change or access specific work products. So the project manager can give what? Permission, authorization to only some members. Those can change or access specific work products. Like he may give permission to the system analyst to change the SRS document. He may give permission to one or two designers to change this DFDs or UML diagrams. He may give the permission to a coder or a programmer to change the codes of a module. He may give permission to a tester to make the changes to the test cases or the test plan, like that. In order to change a controlled work product, such as a code module, a developer can get a private copy of the module through a reserve operation. Yesterday I have told that nowhere the master copy or the original copy will be given for any change. Only a private copy will be given. So that's why. And how that private copy can be given for making any changes? So there the developer will apply a operation called as reserve operation. He wants to make a change on what copy, which module of the source code. He has to apply a reserve operation so that no other person can access the same module till he completes the work. That means he is reserving that module till his work is over. Then only any other person can do some changes. So in that way, the inconsistency problems due to concurrent access can be avoided, which we have already discussed in last class. So in order to change a controlled work product, such as a code module, a developer, he can get a private copy of the module, not the original copy, not the master copy of the module. How? Through a operation called as reserve operation. So this is this thing like this. So let me please explain how the confusion control takes place so that all the problems like unauthorized access, problems due to concurrent access, they can be avoided. How does it happen? I have already told you W1, W3, these are configuration items. Suppose the developer, here the developer working on a PC, he wants to make some changes to the work product or this item W3. Suppose the developer wants to make some changes to the work product or to the item W3. So what then he can do? He has to first apply a reserve operation. See, this is the reserve operation. He will apply the reserve operation on what? On the component W3 or on the work product W3. So while he has applied reserve operation, then this the component will be given by the project manager to this, not the original component. A copy of W3 will be given to the concerned this developer. And since he has applied reserve operation, now nobody can access this W3 until his work is over. Then when he will complete his operation, his changes, then what will happen? This W3 will be restored by which one? This changed one. So here the changed one is there. the developer has made some changes to this W3, maybe W3 prime. So then he has to test it, get approval from the change control board, and if everything is okay, then W3 will be restored. It will be replaced by which one? This one, the changed one. This is how. So this green area is the developer's workplace. This blue area is the developer's workplace. So in this way, confusion control, it occurs. It can be achieved by performing two operations. One is reserve, where the developer will reserve a module or a component by applying this reserve operation, so that no other person can reserve it, can work on this, or can access it. And when his modifications are over, then he will take the permission from the project manager, test it. If everything is okay, satisfied, then this original version of the W3, because now a private copy of the W3 was given to this developer. Now it is tested, it is now satisfied, it is working perfectly. Then this original version of W3, the old version of W3, it will be replaced through this new one, the changed one. So through a restore operation. So W3 will be restored, it will be replaced with the new version, the changed version, which is done by the developer. In this way, confusion control happens by using two keywords. One is reserve, another is restore. Confusion management tools allow only one team member to reserve a module at a time. I have just told this W3 can be reserved by only one person, not more than one person, so that this inconsistency problem can be avoided. Problems due to concurrent access can be avoided. Confusion management tools, they allow only one team member to reserve a module at a time. Once the work product is reserved, what will happen? It does not allow anyone else to reserve this module until the reserved module is restored. So until that module is reserved, nobody will be allowed to reserve again this module. Thus, by preventing more than one developer to simultaneously reserve a module, the problems associated with concurrent access are taken care of, they are handled. This I have already explained here. When developers need to, okay, now let's see the modifications to work product under confusion control. When the developers then need to change a work product, what should they do? What should do they first? They first make a reserve request. So whenever a developer or a tester or anybody else wants to change, to modify certain work product, they have to first reserve it through a reserve request. When developers need to change a work product, they first make a reserve request. Now a reserve request by a team member is honored how? A reserve request by a team member is honored only if appropriate authorization has been given, has been granted by the project manager to that member for the specific work product. So here this developer wants to make modifications in W3. So he will be granted permission if his request is verified by what? This project manager, and project manager feels that yes, this is a genuine modification. So he will grant permission, he will give access that he will get a private copy of W3. Now he will work on the modifications. When his modification is done, it will be tested. Then if everything is okay, project manager is satisfied, then this old version of W3 will be replaced with the new version. That's what it is told here. A reserve request by a team member is honored only if appropriate authorization has been given by the project manager to that member for a specific or for the specific work product. After the reserve command successfully executes, what will happen? I have already told you, a private copy of the work product is created where? In the local directory. So in the local directory, a private copy will be automatically created. Then the developer, he will carry out all necessary changes to the work product on their private copy, not on the original copy. Once the developers, they have satisfactorily completed all necessary changes, all necessary modifications, then the changes need to be restored in the configuration management repository. Just like this, then W3 will be restored with this, it will be replaced with this new version, changed version of the work product. Once the developer has satisfactorily completed all necessary changes, the changes need to be restored where? In the configuration management repository. However, this restoring it cannot be done it directly. It requires some permission. Let's see, the permission is required from where? However, restoring the changed work product to the system confusion requires a permission. Requires the permission of a change control board. Every software organization, they are having a board called as a change control board. So whatever changes a developer made, or whatever the changes a developer make, he has to give a demonstration to the change control board member, CCB. If the CCB is satisfied, yes, all the changes are genuine, no side effects are there, they are actually really fine, then they will give you permission. Okay, now the old version can be replaced, can be restored with the modified version. So how this CCB is constituted? Normally CCB is usually constituted from among the development team members. And for every change that needs to be carried out, the CCB reviews all the changes made to the control work product, and the CCB certifies certain aspects about the change, such as the following. So the CCB, it can certify certain aspects about the change, such as the following. Let's see what aspects the CCB can certify about the change. Whether the change is well motivated, the change the developer is proposing, whether it is well motivated, sufficient motivation is there. The developer has considered and documented the effects of the change. If you may make a change only one module, let's see what other modules are affected. So has the developer considered and documented all these effects or side effects of the change in other modules? Then the changes interact well with the changes made by other developers. So if you are, say, developer A is making some changes, then these changes, whether they interact well with the changes made by the other developers like BC, etc., or not. If not, then why? Whether it is properly interacting or not. Then appropriate people, maybe CCB, have validated the changes. So the people from the CCB, they have to validate the changes. So, for example, someone has tested the change code and has verified that the change is consistent with the need, it is working perfectly, it is working properly. So when they say appropriate people, they have to validate the change. So these are some of the aspects that the CCB reviews. Okay. Normally, the change control board is a group of people, and accepting very large projects, normally the functions of the change control board are normally discharged solely by the project manager. For small projects, the project manager himself, he will act as the change control board, or he may delegate to some senior member of the development team. But if the project is very large, then you have to form a committee for change control board. Maybe 3-4 members may be included in that board. Once the CCB reviews the changes to the module and approves them, then the project manager updates the old configuration item through a restore operation. So once the CCB gives green signal, yes, all the changes are okay, then the project manager, he updates the old configuration item. The original file or the original component or the old work product item or the old component or the old configuration item, how? Through a operation known as a restore operation. Okay. A configuration control tool does not allow a developer to replace a work product in the configuration with its local copy unless he gets an authorization from the CCB. So if the developer has not received any authorization from the CCB, then configuration control, it will not allow him to replace a work product, because this is very, very important. If somebody has managed to get some authorization and made a forgery and he changes, then all the original things will go out. So a configuration tool, a configuration control tool, I will say you what are the tools available. A configuration control tool does not allow a developer to replace a work product in the configuration with his local copy unless he gets an authorization from where? From the CCB. Therefore, any incompletely modified or improperly modified work products, they cannot be updated in the configuration. Like configuration management, let's quickly look at this release management. Yesterday I have discussed about what is a version, what is a release, etc. Those things we have discussed. So release management process systematizes the work carried out by developers to provide a new release of a software. Okay, the release management process, it is systemizes what? It systemizes the work carried out by the developers to provide a new release of a software. So in order to provide a new release of the software, this release management system process, it helps. And on the part of the users to smoothly obtain and use a new release. So how the users can get smoothly a new and how they can use a new release, that will be prescribed by the release management process. Okay. So release management process systemizes the work carried out by the developers to provide a new release of a software, and on the part of the users to smoothly obtain and use a new release. The release process should involve minimal effort. So this the process you are following for building a new release should have minimal effort on what? On the part of the developer, such as to upload a new release of a software, and on part of the users to effortlessly download and install it. The developer should not face any trouble, any difficulty while uploading a new release of a software. Similarly, the users, when they are using, they should not feel any difficulty or problem in downloading and installing it. So these are the objectives, these are the purposes of release management. Let's see how the developers and how the these clients, they should not face any difficulty by using release management. For example, when a new version of the system is to be released, a tool should automatically determine, okay, the tool should automatically determine the changed components. Which components are changed? The tool should automatically determine. Similarly, is there any dependency among the components? That should be also determined by the tool. And similarly, and all interdependent components should be retrievable as a group. So which components, they are interdependent? So all interdependent components, they can be retrieved, they should be retrieved as a group, so that there is no possibility of what? Inconsistency. SRS document you have modified, but the corresponding DFD you have not modified, or the corresponding module, that code for that module you have not modified. So that should not happen, otherwise this will lead to inconsistency. So this thing can be done by what? This thing can be done by using a proper release process. This thing can be ensured by using a proper release management process. Also, retrievals of unnecessary and unchanged components should be avoided. So that would unnecessarily waste your time and resources. So also the retrievals of unnecessary and unchanged components should be avoided. Now let's look at the next item, that is what are the tools available for configuration management. First, let's see the open source configuration management tools. Two popular configuration management tools are available. They work on Unix systems. Very, very important. One is SCCS, another is RCS. SCS stands for source code control system, and RCS stands for revision control system. So both of them can be used for controlling and managing different versions of text files. Please see, they can be used only for controlling and managing different versions of text files. Either the SCS or the RCS, they do not handle other files such as binary files. Examples of binary files are executable files, documents, files containing diagrams, etc. So these are some examples of what's maybe binary files. They do not handle the binary files. They handle only the text files for configuration management. Both SCCS and RCS, they provide an efficient way of storing versions that minimize the amount of occupied disk space. So by using SCS and RCS, if you use them, they provide an efficient way of storing the different versions that minimize the amount of occupied disk space. Now let's see how does it work. How do they work? Suppose a mod is present in 3 versions. The 3 versions are mod 1.1, mod 1.2, mod 1.3. You know, 1.2 means version 1 release 2, like that. Then SCCS and RCS store what? they cannot store all these changes like mod 1.1, mod 1.2, mod 1.3, etc. Actually, what happens? The initial version is mod 1.1. Then you are making some changes. Then you are getting mod 1.2. Again on mod 1.2, we are making some minor changes. You are getting mod 1.3. No need to change all those things. How we can save this space and time? We can save only mod 1.1 in detail. Then what changes we have applied on mod 1.1 so that we are getting the new version mod 1.2? Maybe minor changes. We call them as delta. You store that delta. Then how you can go from mod 1.2 to 1.3? What changes you have made? That is another small modification. That is another delta. So by storing the base version, that is mod 1.1, and the changes, okay, the minor changes or the changes such as by following which and the changes by following which you can go from mod 1.1 to 1.2 or mod 1.2 to 1.3 by storing those changes. So two things you have to store: the base model, the baseline version, and these minor changes. We call them as deltas. Then we can get the complete system. Then SCCS and RCS, they store what? I have already told you. They store the original module mod 1.1 together with what? With the minor changes needed to transform model 1.1 to model 1.2. And then what changes are required to move from model 1.2 to model 1.3. So it will, both the SCCS and RCS tools, they store what? First the original module, that is module 1.1, and the changes required to migrate from 1.1 to 1.2 or 1.2 to 1.3, like that. Okay, so in this way SCCS and RCS, they work. The changes needed to transform each baseline file to the next version are stored and are called deltas. Okay, so these minor changes, the changes needed to transform each baseline file to the next version are stored and are called deltas. The main reason behind storing the deltas rather than storing the full revision files is to save disk space. Why we are not storing all mod 1.1, again mod 1.2, mod 1.3? Two reasons. Because there are not huge changes. They are only differing in a less amount from the base version. So we can put this base version, then what changes are there to migrate from 1.2 to 1.2 or 1.2 to 1.3, only that much. So in this way you can minimize the disk space requirement. So the main reason behind storing the deltas rather than storing the full revision files is to save the disk space. The change control process facilitates the change control facilities which are provided by the tools SCCS and RCS. They include the ability to incorporate the restrictions on the set of individuals who can create the new versions, and facilitators for checking the components in and out. So two important facilities you see they are provided. One is the ability to incorporate the restrictions, different restrictions you are applying. So either SCCS or RCS, they include the ability to incorporate the restrictions on what? On the set of individuals who can create new versions. And also it contains the facilities for checking the components in and out. I have already told you there are two operations, reserve and restore. So when you will apply what? Restore, when will apply reserve, like this. So it provides the facilities for checking the different components. Components means the work products in and out. That means through which operation? Reserve and restore operations. Individual developers check out components and modify them. Okay, so then the individual developers, they will check out all the components and modify them. After they have made all the necessary changes, that means after the developers, they have made all the necessary changes to a component. And after these changes have been reviewed by whom? Reviewed by the CCB, Change Control Board. Then they check in the change module into SCCS RCS. Then that change module can be checked into the tool SCCS or RCS. I'll just say a few words on SCCS. Other RCS you can see from the WhatNet. SCCS is a confusion management tool that you know available on Unix systems. So what does it do? It helps control and manage the text files. I have already told you it will help control and manage the text files, not binary files. It also implements an efficient way of storing the versions. So this tool, it also implements an efficient way for what? An efficient way of storing the different versions. It minimizes the amount of occupied disk space. So otherwise, for each 1.1, module 1.1, module 1.2, module 1.3, if there are hundreds, there are module 1.100. So we have to store everything else, but due to SCS, it only stores the baseline version and the changes only. So it minimizes the amount of occupied disk space. This I have already told you. This example, if a module has presented 3 versions like module 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, then this tool SCCS, it stores the baseline version or the original module 1.1, the original module 1.1, together with the changes which are required to transform this module 1.1 to module 1.2 and module 1.3. These modifications are called what? Deltas. So the changes or the modifications required so that the module will be transferred from module 1.1 to module 1.2 version, those changes, those are known as deltas. Similarly, the changes that required to migrate from module 1.2 to 1.3, those are also called deltas. So your SCCS, what does it store? The baseline version and the deltas. We'll quickly look at some of the features. So access control facilities provided by SCCS include what? What facilities are provided by SCCS? Two facilities I have already told you. Two facilities are important. First one is facilities for checking components in and out. So one more facility I have already told earlier. You can see the previous slides. So here. So let's see the in this slide what is the first facility that is provided by SCCS. So number one is facilities for checking components in and out. So how you can enter into, see, unless you can enter into the component, you cannot make any changes. And after making the changes, you have to restore at the original place. That is known as checkout. So facilities for checking the components in and out, how the components you can get in and get out, that those facilities are provided. Then the individual developers, they check out components and modify them. Okay, first you have to get permission to make modifications on the desired component. The individual developers, they can check out the components and they can modify them. After they have changed the module as required and the module has been successfully tested, then they check in the changed module into SCCS. So two things. First, the component is checked out. And once it is checked out, you can do your modifications. Once the modification is ready, again you have to check in. That component would be checked in into what? Into the tool SCCS. So let us quickly summarize. So access control facilities provided by SCCS includes the following things. Facilities for checking components in and out. The individual developers first they check out the components on which they want to make modifications and then modify them. After they have changed a module as they required and the module has been successfully tested, then the developers they check in the change module into the SCCS. Revisions are denoted by numbers in ascending order. So if there are so many revisions, you can store them like that, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and you know that in 1.2 means 1 represents the version, 2 represents the revision. It is also possible to create variants of a component by creating a fork in the development history. And you know variant means 2 versions working simultaneously. So it is also possible to create variants of a component. How? By creating fork in the development history. You know fork and join. By creating a fork in the development history, it is also possible to create different variants of a component. So this is regarding the SCCS. Then the other one is what RCS, that you can read yourself. Okay, RCS, please search from the internet. You please read yourself. So, but questions will also come from RCS. That is an assignment for you. Okay, just give me 1 minute, please. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Now the slide is visible. Anybody else, please respond. Yes. Slide is visible.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we'll come to the last portion of this today's topic. That is, we'll discuss only few project management tools. So many project management tools are there. So these two tools I have told, SCCS and RCS, these are explicitly used for configuration management. Okay. So besides that, let's see what are the general purpose software project management tools. Many tools are there, such as Gantt project, Microsoft project, Project Libre, Primavera, and so on. So out of this Gantt project, we have a Gantt project and Project Libre. We have already told you. I had shared these tutorials how you can use. I have also uploaded those things in this Microsoft these Teams. And the two are new here, Microsoft Project and this Primavera. So let's quickly look at them. And you have already known that Gantt project and Project Libre, they are open source software, isn't it? Gantt project is a freeware GPL license project management software which that runs under the Windows, Linux, and Mac operating systems. Microsoft Project is the basic project management software. It is from Microsoft Corporation. The advanced capabilities of Microsoft Project are supported through MS Office Project Server and MS Office Project Web Access software. Project Libre you have already done. Project Libre is the open source software tool which is intended as an alternative to the various commercial softwares like Microsoft Project. Primavera project management software, it
Not audible, sir.
okay, I think now I am audible. Yes, now audible. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, so first I have told three tools: Gantt project, Microsoft Project, and Project Libre. Then we'll discuss about this Primavera. Primavera project management software. It is a widely used suite of project management software. So I will take a particular one or two tools which are present in this Primavera project management software suite. These two here will take our SureTrack and Primavera 6. SureTrack is the entry-level software. It is for beginners. And Primavera 6 is the advanced software. Okay, this is the advanced software for configuration management. Using the SureTrack's project kickstart, a project manager can define the different project phases. He can establish the goals. He can anticipate the obstacles and delegate the assignments like this. These are some of the functionalities of these SureTrack's project kickstart. Okay. Gantt project already we have discussed, so no need to discuss again. So you please read yourself, like what are the features of a Gantt project. You can create a Gantt chart. You can perform cost management. You can deal with link or dependency management. You can display the critical path. You can view a port chart. Everything else you can do Gantt project. I think many of you have done these assignments using Gantt project. I am not discussing in detail. All those things I have already shared in my tutorial. So these are some of the examples. I am skipping those things. Project Libre also I have told you. It is an open source software tool intended as an alternative to different commercial softwares like Microsoft Project. And you know it is a free software, just as the name implies. But Libre means it is just freely available. It is a free software, just as the name implies. But it is also compatible with any other project manager software. Okay, so this software Project Libre, it is compatible with any other project management software. It is having several good features. Those are like tax management. You can develop the WBS, work breakdown structure generation. You can perform resource allocation and tracking, and the Gantt charts that provide a clear view of the critical path elements of the schedule. You can also build Gantt charts by using Project Libre. Okay, these are some of the features supported by Project Libre. How to install? I have given this link, etc. So please have a look yourself. Those by using this, because many of you are saying that we are not able to do. So these steps you can follow. You can install Project Libre on your machine, and you can practice the different assignments yourself. We do not have time to cover this thing. These are easy things. You please read yourself. Next is Microsoft Project. Microsoft Project, or shortly we call it a MSP. MSP. It is a project management software program. It is designed to assist project managers in the following ways. By using this tool, the project managers can develop the plans, can assign resources to tasks, can track the progress of the project, can manage the budgets, and can analyze the workloads of their of his team like this. So these are the features, these are the functionalities of Microsoft Project. Okay. The project creates budgets based on assignment work and resource rates. The resources could be, resources could be people, the developers, testers, analysts, etc., equipment and materials. MSP offers robust management tools. Okay, what does MSP offer? It is a robust management tool with the right blend of usability, power, and flexibility. That's why you can manage different projects more efficiently and effectively by using MSP. These are some of the main features of MSP. It can be used for resource pooling, task linking, support for collaboration, and for viewing portfolios. Portfolio management we have already discussed in chapter 2. Please have a read yourself. The project map outlines the three phases of project life cycle, such as building a plan, tracking and managing a project, and closing a project. Now let's quickly look at how you can build a plan. These are the activities for building a plan. Like you have to first define a project, then you have to plan the project activities, then plan for procuring the different resources, plan the project cost, what could be the different cost associated with different activities, plan the project cost, plan for quality and the risks. We have already discussed about risk management. Quality management we will discuss towards the end of this. Those ISO, CICMM, Six Sigma, they are all coming under quality management. Then plan the communication and security. I have already discussed how you can make communication different ways like oral, verbal, informal, formal, all those things I have told you. Optimize a project plan, how you can optimize. If you can see that we have already seen CPM part where we are optimizing the schedule, optimize a project plan, print and distribute the project information. So all those are activities that are required for building a plan. This now we are discussing MSP, Microsoft Project. Then next one, three important things I have told: building a plan, tracking and managing a project, and closing a project. I have already told you first the activities for building a plan. Now let's see the activities for tracking and managing a project. So what activities are involved? You have to track the progress. As a project manager, you have to manage a schedule that you have prepared, manage the different resources available with you, manage the cost available with you, manage the different risks and handle them. These are the activities required for tracking and managing a project using MS Project. And what are the activities required for closing a project? Just you review the final project information. So what is the information available? Review the final project information, then you can close a project. In fact, we will take a class, if time permits, on closing a project, how a project can be closed. Don't say that only the successful projects only they are closed. Unsuccessful projects also we have to close and review them. So how to close that we will discuss maybe in a class if time permits. Each one of the project phases, okay, each one of the project phase activities has its own goals. Okay, each phase has its own activity, own goals. How you can enhancement? So This Microsoft MSP, Microsoft project, it was extended, it was enhanced. Let's see how they have done, how they have been completed. The Microsoft project's capabilities were extended with the introduction of Microsoft Office Project Server and Microsoft Project Web Access. So by using these two items, by using these two items, Microsoft Office Project Server and Microsoft Project Web Access, the original Microsoft project's capabilities were extended. Also, the newer versions, also the newer versions, they provide for cross functionality with the different products like PowerPoint and Visio. They provide the newer versions, they provide for cross functionality with the different products such as PowerPoint and Visio. This is the source for download that you can see, and this provides you with a 90 days trial pack. Other websites like Subtonic and CNET, they can also be referred for free download. Then let's quickly look at this Primavera. This is also a project management tool. This enables the organizations to manage time, tasks, cost, resources, contracts, change and risks to consistently execute different profitable projects. It is an industry-leading project. Okay, this is this solution is one of the good, one of the best solutions. It is an industry-leading project and program management solution for the projects of any size. Can be applied to small size projects or medium size projects or large industrial sized projects. Organizations leverage Primavera to the following items. By using Primavera, you can effectively collaborate across the entire project team. You can proactively manage projects to meet the different success requirements. You can standardize the business processes and best practices. What are the best practices that can follow? What are the standard business processes? You can all standardize them. As a project manager, by using Primavera, you can standardize the business processes and the best practices. These are the offerings given by Primavera. The offerings include like enterprise visibility of all projects, role-based views, access information in real time and online. These are easy things. Please read yourself. No need to repeat. The benefits of using Primavera are like it is a very easy to use solution. It is very good. It is great for simple projects. It is an integrated suite of features. I have already told you it is not one tool or one feature it supports. It supports integrated suite of features. It's a very modern platform. Okay. So now let's quickly compare the tools that we have discussed now with respect to different characteristics, like whether it supports project management facility or not. Sorry, it supports portfolio management or not. Portfolio management I have already told you in chapter 2. So whether the tools support portfolio management or not, whether they are web-based or not, whether they support scheduling or not, whether they support cost management or not, whether they support resource management or not, whether they are open source tools or commercial tools. If it's a Gantt project, it is not a web-based tool. It does not support portfolio management. It supports scheduling. It does not support cost management, but it supports resource management, and it is open source software. Similarly, you can see Project Libre. It also supports scheduling, also supports resource management, and it is an open source tool. Microsoft project, it supports portfolio management. It is web-based, supports scheduling, supports cost management, supports resource management, but it is not open source. It is a commercial tool. Primavera supports portfolio management. It is web-based. It supports scheduling. It supports cost management. Also, it supports resource management, but it's not an open source software. This is also a commercial software. In this way, I have given a clear picture of comparison of the available tools, of the available software tools for software project management. Okay. In this way, I have given a clear picture of the different software tools, the different tools available for software management. Okay. So this is the comparison of the features of the project management tools. So you can see many other software management tools you can see many other confusion management tools from the net that you read yourself. But these things, if you can know, this will help definitely in your industrial life. All right. Yeah. So today we have explained briefly the confusion management process. We have presented some confusion management tools such as SCCS and RCS, and we have also presented some project management tools such as Gantt chart, Project Libre, Microsoft Project, and Primavera. All right. So this much we have seen today. These things we have taken from this software project management book mostly, and a few from the software engineering book. Thank you very much for your patientful hearing. Now let's take up any questions from yesterday's class and today's class. If there are any questions, please ask.